Oh, wow. So there were 500 people that registered to attend this event.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, this is crazy. Out of those 500 people, Veronica, how many of them were like ICP fit, perfect customers?
Yeah. So, that's a good question. So fortunately, we noticed that probably I'd say 80% were very legitimate leads.
Wow.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Show Me the Data podcast by Leadset, where every week we get marketing and sales leaders from fast-growing B2B tech companies to share specific tactics they use to drive revenue for their business. The best part, they share the exact metrics and data points behind each of their tactics. I'm your host, Tukan, the co-founder and CEO of Leadset. See you there. Hello, everyone. My guest today is Veronica French. Veronica is the Director of Demand Generation at Replicant.ai. Welcome to the show, Veronica.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Tukan.
Awesome. So I guess I looked up Replicant.ai and it is super cool. The video that you guys have on your website is phenomenal. It felt so futuristic. It felt like I'm in Minority Report. It's so cool. So can you tell, for the sake of the audience, just a high-level overview of what you guys do?
Yeah. I love Minority Report reference there. Our name is very appropriate as well. I think the Blade Runner theme.
Yeah.
So at a high level, we are an autonomous contact center. So we power customer service conversations with voice AI. And our whole aim is that our technology is really at the forefront of conversational design so that conversations feel natural. You don't feel like you have to be talking in robot speak. You can talk in your natural voice. You can have slang. You can have different accents, and it'll speak to you normally back and fully resolve your issues. So it's really exciting space to be in. I've been in the contact center space before. This is new and exciting technology, and we're working with some exciting customers. So it's some cool stuff for sure.
It is cool is the term that I would use. It is super cool. Great. So I guess, before we get into the specific campaign that you guys ran, Veronica, I noticed you joined this company in December of last year.
Correct.
So one question that we are asking our guests is, as the Director of Demand Gen, what did your first 90 days, I know it's been more like 180 days, but what did your first 90 days look like?
Yeah. I think with entering any role, the way I like to approach it is first you take some time, especially at least like a week, 2 weeks of just going super deep into recon. You want to understand the business really well, listen into every sales call that you can. I set up meetings with everybody on the team and ask them what's working, what's not working, what do you wish we could be doing? And just like building that relationship with folks as well, and putting a face to everyone to let them know also that you are here to be of service, especially as a marketer to the sales team. We don't want to be in isolation. We just do our own thing. No, like marketing, your success is my success and vice versa. So building that relationship, getting an understanding of where we are, where we want to go, and everyone's individual perspective. I think everyone can be a marketer, not just marketing. Everyone has great ideas. A lot of our ideas have come from other teams. And so, that's the first step, I think, is getting a lay of the land, if you will. Then the next step is as a person in demand gen, I've done functions in growth, digital marketing, kind of had to wear all hats in a lot of different startup functions as well. So you come with this toolkit, if you will, of all these different channels you could be trying out, organic stuff, paid stuff. You can try out different tactics that have worked in the past. So you have this like map, if you will, of all these different things you can be doing and using. But now it's like, okay, well, based off of what I heard, what should we prioritize now? What can we start testing out now? What will we test out later? And building out kind of that roadmap. And so that's what we started doing, is building out a roadmap and then aligning. Once you build out the roadmap and you've decided what you want to work on and try out first, it's aligning with the team and making sure, is this the right approach, adjusting and making sure everyone's in agreement. And then from there, it's just testing out and testing and seeing what's working.
I love it. So I guess there's a follow-up question to that. So you mentioned that you come with a map, sort of like a playbook, and you figure out which channels work. So what are the channels at Replicant that you are using to drive demand currently?
Yeah. So right now we took an approach. We're still a pretty young company. We are very lucky that we have a good number of customers already, but we're still kind of building that category creation.
Yes.
So we are in early stages. So we want to do a couple things that may not be typical of a more mid-sized or enterprise company. So we're taking baby steps. So the first one is let's immediately help the sales team. And that is number one. So we could be doing all kinds of lead gen stuff, but at the end of the day, we want to help the sales team close deals. So
Absolutely.
our main focus was working with the sales team on more an account-based approach. And hence we built out some events, did some direct mail, and built out content and presentations for specific accounts and specific people that our sales teams were talking to.
Got it.
Yeah.
So then the process was basically the sales team gave you a list of target accounts, and within them you help them run some account-based marketing and sales plays on that.
We actually are taking a different approach. We've done ABM before, and I've done it in different organizations. And usually that's where you start. You start with your target account list, your tile, and then you chop it up, you tier it, prioritize accounts. Since we are set in such a new space, we don't want to limit ourselves and say, okay, we know these are the accounts we want to go to. We want to keep our market broad as we gain learnings and see what's working for different accounts, different industries, different personas. So the way we did limit it to is just, okay, let's narrow down to 6 industries. We know based of our price point, what kind of deal size, and then hence what kind of company size we should be working with to reach economies of scale. And then we also know which geos. So we just limited it to that. But the account base where we were working with the sales team was actually on opportunities and prospects they were already talking to, or ones that they knew that they wanted to talk to in their territory. So very kind of bespoke and ad hoc, if you will, as we gain learnings. And then we eventually are going to build out a target account list.
Got it. So, and how big is that initial list or set of companies that you were going after, Veronica, roughly?
It's probably in the 2,000, maybe 2,000, 3,000. But then when we narrowed down to the ones that we do a lot more bespoke stuff for, that will get down to a few hundred, maybe 500. Yeah.
Got it. Cool. So now let's talk about this experiential events that you are doing. Would you say that is a part of like the account-based strategy to help sales get traction within these accounts?
Yes, exactly. So we actually started these, we tested them out first with very small, intimate events. I think with COVID, everything was moving to online. It was really hard to build those intimate interpersonal relationships. And so a lot of folks were doing this, these like virtual wine tastings. And that's what we started with. We did a sparkling wine tasting with a vineyard in Napa. And it was a small gathering. We invited about 30 people, and maybe 15 showed up. So it was a very intimate group. We didn't really have a lot of structure to it. So it was 30 minutes of wine tasting and then 30 minutes just like networking, which was great.
Was all done virtually.
All done virtually. And it worked really well in terms of we saw folks being very comfortable speaking. We had 2 customers on the call during the event, and they were essentially advocating for us and were selling for us, which was amazing. And we didn't even ask them to. It just like organically happened. And so based off of that small pilot, we thought, okay, what would it look like if we did these kind of intimate tastings, if we made them bigger and if we opened it up?
Okay.
A lot of these events have a high price point for especially wine, to mail out wine to folks in advance. That can be $100, $150. So we wanted to try out and see what would it look like if we were to expand this to a broader audience. Would there be interest? How expensive would that look like? What would be the outcomes of it? So it was purely test mode. And so we sent out wine to 30 people, and that budget was around $4,000. So I said, let's try with $4,000 a more cost-effective event. So we did a chocolate tasting.
Yes.
And that ended up being $40 a kit to send out. So then we could send it to 100 people.
Yep.
So we set up the time for this event, and we just decided, let's go ham and invite everybody. And that's where we saw some interesting outcomes.
We're going to come to that. I have a few questions now. So we are going to talk about the specific chocolate tasting event, which sounds amazing. So you aim to reach out to 100 people, like that was the target?
That was the kind of stretch goal. We said we got 15 people last time. We invited 30.
Yeah.
If we get close to 100, that's going to be amazing. Realistically, maybe we'll get 50. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And this was also done all virtual.
Yeah.
Not in person. Okay. So now walk me through this process. What tools did you use? Tech tools did you use to help you host and also send out the gifts? What did you?
Yeah, so we actually did it very, very raw. We used Zoom, and we used our HubSpot. We have HubSpot for our CRM and marketing automation. So we use that for our forms and our landing page. And then for the actual working with the vendor, it was literally just going to Google and searching all kinds of different chocolate virtual chocolate tastings. And our big thing is also we wanted to look for, I'm really keen on looking for like family-owned businesses, small businesses, intimate businesses, especially during COVID. A lot of people were hurting.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing we looked for. So we found this amazing family in Miami who had built out this business from scratch. And they were super passionate about the chocolate. And you could tell in the tasting and the virtual tasting how passionate they were.
Okay. So that's great. So you didn't really use any fancy gifting tools or anything like that to host all of this. Okay. Now, in HubSpot, so the people that you reached out to, your goal stretch goal was to get 100. How many people did you originally reach out to get to 100?
Yeah. So traditionally, when I've done, for example, like webinars in the past,
yes, yeah,
you usually tap into your email database. That's been my traditional approach. You say, okay, we're going to invite, let's say, 10,000 people based on open rate, click-through rate, and landing page conversion rate. We are hoping for 50 to 100 signups, right?
Yeah.
With this event, we took a little bit of a different approach. So because the first time around we knew there was an interest with these seasoned executives in across different industries, and it was the account reps who were reaching out to them. What we did is we actually leveraged LinkedIn events and event pages for our outreach. The reason why it actually ended up working well was, so we published our event page on LinkedIn events. So it was in a LinkedIn event page.
Sure.
And what made it so effortless is that then I went to the sales team, or all of our account reps and our SDRs, and it's just a 1-2 call to action. They can they click invite connections. Yeah. They have the list there, and then they up, and they go through all of their prospects and all the folks that they're talking to and connected to on LinkedIn. And so we had like that hundreds of people being invited, and then we reached up to like 500 people actually registering on the LinkedIn event page.
Oh, wow. So there were 500 people that registered to attend this event.
Yes.
Okay. So, this is crazy. So you didn't shoot. This is amazing. So you didn't do any email marketing. It was through purely LinkedIn, and the sales reps were reaching out.
Correct. And we did a sprinkle of email, but the majority of signups were from the LinkedIn event.
And these are like connections of the sales reps, or these are cold people that fit those buyer personas or target account lists?
Yes, so that's a good question. You can only invite your own connections. So if you're relying on our cumulative network based off of all of our account reps and even like our senior execs and things like that.
Okay. So now you have 500 people registered, but you had planned for 100 people to attend, and I'm guessing the chocolate boxes were also planned for that. So how did you manage to say to the 400 that you're not going to come, or what happened there?
So there's an interesting kind of conundrum that ended up happening, a good conundrum. But so and one thing I will say about like the LinkedIn event page also is that you can see who else is registered, and there was like a snowball effect of like we saw some like senior C-level execs from giant airlines, giant food industry companies who were registered for this, and we're still a small company, and so we were just blown away. But it was that snowball effect of you see other execs, you see other titles.
100%. There's a social proof right there. That's brilliant.
Exactly. Whereas like you don't get that a lot when you sign up through a landing page.
Yeah.
So we had 500 people on the page. However, we have to mail out these kits to folks.
Yeah.
And people aren't in an office, they're at home.
That's right.
So we need to make that uncomfortable ask of give me your personal home address.
Yes.
So that's where we had to get a bit more crafty. So what we did is we through the LinkedIn events, you can actually export your registration list, their email addresses.
Yep.
And then with that email address, we would send out an email. You're registered. Now we just need your address to get your kit to you. And so we try to make it like connect the dots of we're not just cold emailing you. You've already registered for this. We just need to get you your kits. And so then that's where we got about 200 people to actually fill out the form and get their addresses.
Okay. So so those 200 people got the kit delivered to them. And what about the other 300 people? Because if they didn't sign up with their address or give you their address, they wouldn't be able to attend the event, or they could, but they still wouldn't just get the kit.
Yeah. So what we did is we sent out because we had that full list of 500. We did a couple of things for them. So one is we invited them all to the calendar event manually. We invite them all so it's on their calendar, and then we also added it as the Zoom link in the event as the broadcast link, and then we set out notifications and alerts of like the countdown to the event, and the event is starting soon. So maybe you didn't get your kit because you didn't sign up. But you can still attend the event because we're going to have actually some thought leadership there. And that's one of the things that we do at this event is that it's a tasting paired with thought leadership for our target audience.
Amazing. And for the thought leaders, did you have customers, like some of your customers to speak, or who did you guys have?
A mix. We've had customers speak, but we also had people who registered or folks that we wanted to talk to. I did some cold outreaching to get people to join and be panelists.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That is so cool. So, and this was, how long was this event, Veronica? Like, was it an hour long?
So it's an hour-long event, and we do 30 minutes of the tasting at first.
Okay.
Our key is we do no sales pitch whatsoever. We don't have slides on Replicant. We don't have a sales pitch on Replicant. Our moderator, he briefly mentions this is hosted by Replicant. We are XYZ, and then moves on to the actual event. But that is absolutely it. So it's very non-salesy. So the first half is the tasting, and then the second half, we kick off what we call a CX panel. We're in the contact center space, so customer experience is really important. So we'll have a CX panel, we'll have a topic, and then we'll select our panelists and prep them on the topic so that they can speak to it.
Great. Okay, so now let's go to the real bottom of the funnel. Let's talk about some metrics. So you reached out to 200 people, roughly $40 a kit. So that's $8,000. That's your budget. Well, that's your spend at a minimum. So out of those 500 people, Veronica, how many of them were like ICP fit, perfect customers?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So fortunately, we noticed that probably I'd say 80% were very legitimate leads.
Wow.
Yeah. Which we're very lucky because I will share, like, for example, like we've done for certain webinars, we will pair it with, we're doing this webinar during lunchtime, have lunch on us, and we'll send them a $25 Postmates gift card, for example. With that, we notice a lot of students sometimes sharing it with their friends, and then it ends up being like half of the list is not legitimate. So like 80% were legitimate leads.
Wow. So like 400 people out of those 500 were legitimate leads that signed up. Can you talk a little bit about what's the down funnel impact on that from your pipeline after that event happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So we worked really closely with our AEs and our SDR team. So for the AEs that they knew the account, they were already having conversations with them. We asked them to attend the event and then follow up with the folks and ask them, how did it go? What'd you think? And so just like build that relationship further. And then with the SDRs, we had them try to set up meetings afterwards and also start warming up those people in advance. So in advance, they'll connect with them on LinkedIn, reach out to them, be like, oh, we're so excited for you to attend. Can't wait to see you there. That's it. Then after, it's the give and take, and so then afterwards they ask for the meeting. So what we saw out of it was we got about, I think it was 28 or 30 meetings from the event. So with the math, it ended up being, we ended up sending out just over 200 kits. I think our budget was around like 10K ended up being. So we got 30 meetings. So that's like $300 a meeting.
Meeting with an ICP fit customer.
Exactly. And so that was huge. And then after that, of those meetings, we got 10 opportunities.
Incredible. So that's $1,000 an opportunity.
Exactly. And what was awesome about it was, which we didn't realize that this would be an outcome of these events, was that we received, out of the 500 people, I believe 250 or 300 of them were net new contacts. So we were paying, essentially, that's like $30 a lead for like an ICP lead, which is
crazy.
It's really, in B2B, like you're looking at more like 100, 200.
Okay. So this is amazing. So I guess we are almost at the end of the time here. Do you think, Veronica, based on the success that you have seen with this unique event, is that now going to be part of your strategy moving forward to host these kind of bespoke events?
Absolutely. And it is. We've since then, we've had a coffee tasting, we've had a cocktail making class, we're having a barbecue class coming up. And we have in the works a couple more, like whiskey tasting, a honey tasting, which I'm super excited about.
Okay. And I'm guessing cheese tasting would be another interesting.
Yes, absolutely.
And does a time difference play a role? Because people are all over?
That's a good question. So we actually usually do ours in the evening-ish, especially if there's alcohol involved. We try to have Pacific time on like at 4 p.m. And then Eastern will be at either 7 or we'll do 3 to 6. Otherwise, with the coffee one, we tried that out. We're like, okay, let's see what the turnout is if we do this in the morning. So we did 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and we had just a successful turnout.
That's amazing. And you are primarily then targeting folks in US for now, or no?
At Canada.
Canada. Yeah, that makes sense. And how frequently are you doing these events? Like once a month now, or what's the frequency?
We try to space it out about a month and a half out. That gives us enough wiggle time to build the momentum of getting folks to register. Because it takes about, you need buffer time of like 2 to 3 weeks
to mail
them out and make sure they arrive on time.
What was the feedback from the guest, both from, I guess, the content and also the experience of tasting chocolates while having a chat?
Folks love it. So what's awesome about the tastings is everyone goes crazy in the chat of Zoom. And that's a great, actually, kind of lubricant to the panel that we have afterwards.
Exactly.
Because during it, everyone's saying, oh, this tastes like this, or I sense notes of bitterness or fruity. And then afterwards, during the panel, people are already like accustomed and feeling.
They're like almost friendly at that point, like they know each other. That's awesome. This is fascinating. Veronica, thank you so much for sharing all these very specific insights, and this whole strategy is brilliant. What Replicant does is super cool. As I said, as you mentioned, Blade Runner, Minority Report, and it's only fitting that you guys are doing something cool like this from a Demand perspective. Again, thank you so much for coming out, Anita, and sharing your insights. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.